Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday morning weekly setup. For those of you who may not know, my name is Bailey Grady, and I will be your facilitator today. I saw that we have lots of familiar names in the chat, so welcome back. So good to virtually see you all. I say see with these quotation marks because, of course, I can't actually see you because this is cameras off for everybody except for myself, but I can see all of your awesome names popping up as attendees and in the chat for those of you who are sharing. So it's always so nice to see those familiar names and kind of know that our community is here with us. But I also saw that we have some either first time attendees or newer ish joiners. So welcome to you as well. So for those of you who this may be your first weekly setup, what this will look like is we're going to go through some different slides with some different activities and ideas and things up on the screen. As we go through, if there's anything that you really like that you want to like refer back to and everything, feel free to kind of take a screenshot or snap a photo. That does not bother us at all. So that way you can kind of refer back to it. But also, you have all of these amazing people that are a part of our community here in the chat today. We've got over 100 people with us here today so far. So there are lots of really great folks that you can get ideas from that way too. So if you're stuck on a page, if you are looking for something new to try, wanting to like think about an angle, don't be afraid to say that in the chat. We have all kind of had something that we've struggled with before or that we've been stuck on, and we're there to kind of trade ideas and help each other figure out what works best for you in your journal. So to share in the chat, you're going to want to make sure that that little blue box next to where you like type is set to everyone. Sometimes it'll default over to host and panelists. And if it's host and panelists, not everyone will be able to see what you are sharing. So just be sure that you have that flipped to everyone so that you can share in the chat and ask questions and help each other. And also just to hang out and be in community, because I think that that is one of the best parts about our socials. Like when you're first getting started, coming to a social is great because it kind of helps you get the guidance that you might be looking for. And hopefully you leave this social feeling empowered to really do whatever you need to do in these pages to make them work for you. If you need to make changes and, completely reroute a section, you're going to see a lot of examples of that as we go through. Or if you just needed some new perspective of how to think about things, we're hoping that you will feel really empowered to do whatever you need to do in those pages when you leave today. But also, once you have a good rhythm and you kind of know what to expect from yourself and your community each week, this really becomes a place to connect. I know many of you come each and every week to our socials, and we're so happy to have you with us over and over again. And it's because, yes, like you like holding yourself accountable and having that time to really get your journal set up for the week, because all of us know that when we do our setups, the week tends to like go a lot better. And I know for me, like it really helps with the Sunday scaries and things like that. But also, I know that you all come because you're here to spend time with one another. And so that's part of what that chat is for as well. So make sure that you do have that set to everyone. So here are our community guidelines that we'll run through real quick. So be kind and courteous to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam, please. We will respect everyone's privacy here, and of course, no hate speech or bullying. We ask that you limit repetitive product and accessory questions. We don't mind some chatter around like your favorite pens and like stickers. You're going to see lots of stickers in my examples and things as we go through, but we also want to make sure you all have the time to do what you need to do today. And then I have the fabulous Maya here with me stage managing today. So she'll be hanging out with you all in the chat. But she and I do not have access to everything to solve problems. So if it's something that she or I cannot help with, we will redirect you over to the team over at headquarters at hello@silkandsonder.com, and they'll be able to help you out with anything that she and I cannot assist with. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. And so really what that means is come as you are, take what you need. And if anything starts to not feel aligned, right? Or if you start to get into what I like to call the crunchy feelings, a little bit of crunch can be good, right? It can kind of help spice up a dish and get us to that next level of like flavor profile. But sometimes crunchy can also be like stepping on a Lego with your bare foot. So if we ever talk about our journal prompt or anything that brings up that Lego stepping on a Lego with your barefoot feeling and you need to take a break, just know that we're here for you. And we fully endorse you stepping away, coming back to it, or just leaving it for later, whatever it is that you need. So today we will do our last opportunity mind map prompt, and then we will do our rosebud thorn reflection on last week before we move into our weekly setup for next week. So we're going to start with that mind map. Oh, sorry. One more slide, getting ahead of myself. So as you all hopefully know at this point, because October's almost over, which is wild to think about. I can't believe we only have like 4 days left. Halloween is on Thursday. Our theme for this month has been opportunity. And I think it's an amazing theme for our journals specifically because each and every week, each and every month, you kind of get an opportunity for a fresh start with Silk and Sonder. And really, all of us have different goals and different things going on in our lives that we're trying to focus on that has kind of like brought us here to this journey with our journals and our community. But at the end of the day, one of the greatest opportunities that you have with Silk and Sonder is getting to learn more about yourself, right? Each of these pages are so geared towards you figuring out what works for you and what you need and what kind of like changes or tweaks or updates that you may need to make in order to kind of get to whatever that next like goal is for yourself. And sometimes the goal is doing less, right? Like achieving a goal doesn't always mean doing more or checking off more off of your list. Sometimes it's figuring out how to do less with your time, right? So that you can just be and enjoy and kind of live as yourself instead of your to-do list. So this is a great theme for us, really every month, but especially this month. I love the opportunity October alliteration. And it's kind of our last, like, I guess, transitional month before it really starts to get wintry outside. So we kind of also have that opportunity to connect with the seasons and different things like that. So it was very fitting this month, I think. But we are going to go ahead and get started with that opportunity mind map. So for those of you who may be new, the mind map is an activity we do each week in our weekly socials. It's exclusive to the weekly social itself. So you're not going to find this pre-printed in the journal anywhere. You do have to attend the socials with us to kind of see what this is going to be front and center. So you can turn to a blank page or space in your journal anywhere to do this prompt. A lot of folks will just pick a whole page and then use that for the month. But with October coming to a close here, you could definitely just pick one little like piece of like a corner of a page or something to do this next prompt. Next week, we'll probably have, I think, like a bonus mind map, and then we'll get into whatever our theme for November is. So each week this week, we've been reflecting on different opportunities in our life because that is our theme. And this like final week, we are thinking about opportunity in community. So the prompt is reflect on a time when you were part of a community event or initiative. How did it make you feel connected to the people around you? And what impact did it have on the community as a whole? How could you contribute to your community in the future? So I am a little bit more of a homebody. That's not to say I don't get out and do things, but I'm definitely an introvert. I need to recharge. So I'm not typically somebody that is doing a whole lot of events and things in general. So it took me a while to kind of think about this because I also had to think about what community means to me. And honestly, the first thing I thought of was you all, because I really do feel like we have just an incredible community here at Silk and Sonder. And that's kind of like where my brain went to first, but it didn't really seem to fit the prompt, at least for me. But that brings up what I want to say to you all, which is that community can really be a group of people of any number, right? It doesn't have to be some big organization. It doesn't have to be like your county or, any kind of like large thing like that. It can be that, and if it is, that's great. But a community can also look like maybe like a small group of 10 friends that you've known your whole life that you do your best to kind of support and stay in touch with, right? It can be folks that maybe you've connected with through a hobby, like maybe you like to read and you joined like a local like reading group at like the library, or you have a book club, like that is a small community as well. So don't feel like pigeonholed into having to respond to this prompt as if it has to be some sort of major organization or something like that. For me, what I ended up settling on when I decided to actually put pen to paper here was the neighborhood that we live in. We've lived in our house for 12 years now. It's crazy to think about that it's been that long. But we've lived here for 12 years. And by the time COVID came around, we had been living here for like 7 years, I think. And we really didn't know our neighbors. Like, we knew the people that lived directly next to us and, like, 1 or 2 people across the street, but that was it. We really didn't know the people in our neighborhood. And during COVID, we started walking the neighborhood because I was working from home. I was fortunate enough to work from home, during that time, but working from home meant I got really stir crazy, and so I, like, needed to get out of the house. So we started walking our neighborhood every single day. And we finally got to know our neighbors, like all of them. And it turns out that we have some really awesome neighbors. And it was a really great experience. And it helped me feel better connected to kind of where we live, but also it just helped me feel more secure. Like in our dwelling, I have anxiety, as many of you know. And so sometimes, like, if I'm at home alone, I tend to get a little nervous. Even though we live in like a very safe area, I have had a fear of like home invasions and break-ins ever since I was a kid. I think my parents probably let me watch the news at a little bit too early of an age. And so that fear kind of always lingers like in the back of my mind. But after we got to know our neighbors, I just felt a lot safer because I felt like I knew exactly who was everywhere, and I knew exactly who I could run to if I needed help with something and my husband wasn't home, or couldn't get a hold of friends. Like, I feel comfortable going up to just about any house in this neighborhood now and knocking on the door and striking up a conversation, being in community, or asking for help if that's what I need. So it was a really great experience to get to know them, but also through that, we realized that we weren't the only ones who didn't really know our neighbors. A lot of people were like us and had lived here for a while, but hadn't really talked to each other. And so we ended up creating like a community Facebook page so that people could kind of try to stay more connected of what was going on. And we ended up having like a community cookout last year, and that was really great and fostered more communication. And we do like some neighborhood like cleanup days and little projects and things like that. And none of that would have really happened if we hadn't just gotten out and started communicating. So it's nice to be able to kind of take that communication onto that electronic platform so that it can reach more people that way. And hopefully, as time goes on and more people get to know each other and feel comfortable, there'll be more sharing. So, yeah. So, all that to say, that is what I decided to write about. Because I think that that's probably what really has happened to me in the last couple years outside of Silk and Sonder community wise. But you feel free to think about whatever this brings up for you. I will hop between these two slides. If this is your first weekly setup for us and you want to do some of these past journal prompts, feel free to do so, but you do not have to do so. You can do all four, you can do one. Just snap a quick picture of the screen if you do want to do them so that you can come back to those other three prompts later. And if you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, we would love to know what is coming up for you. So I'll put on a little bit of music and then we'll get into our next activity. Thank you all for taking a few minutes to think about our prompt here. And if you're still thinking about it, or if you're like me and it took a minute for something to really come to you, don't worry. You can always come back to this. I know that some of you too are sharing that, you feel a little lost when it comes to community right now. And I can like totally empathize with that. At the beginning of this year, I've had like a core group of like friends. I say it like that because, when you have friends that you are just kind of friends with because you all did something together once a long time ago and you've just kind of stayed in touch. But then over time, you start to realize that you've kind of grown into different people. That kind of happened to me earlier this year, and that was probably one of the more like core community pieces that I had. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's normal for you to go through periods of time where you don't feel super connected to community, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you won't find it again. It just means that, we kind of have to recognize that we have that want to be more connected in that way, and then just be open to the opportunities that may come forward for us to try to re-engage with communities like hobby groups or dance groups, even just like if you're somebody that likes to work out or take workout classes. I know that I was taking a class for a while that that class was totally a community. They would go out to eat once a week together and really got to know each other. So you never know where it will kind of like spring out of. But also, we're your community too. And so I know it's been really helpful for me to have you all during this season of kind of like change and growth and like figuring that sort of thing out. And so I hope that you know that you have this community here for you as well while you're kind of navigating what that looks like for you. So we are now going to move into our rosebud thorn exercise. And this is where we kind of think about last week and the past 7 days and kind of what happened and reflect with some balance before we kind of put a pin in that, let it go, and then move into the week ahead. So a rose is something that went well thinking about the last week, maybe something you're grateful for or something positive that happened. Maybe it's just something that made you smile. Sometimes a rose is that you made it through the week. A bud is what could bloom. What's something that you look forward to, something that gives you hope, motivation, inspiration, an opportunity on the horizon, right? It could be something you're excited about, it could be something you're a little nervous about, could be both. And then a thorn is what isn't going so well, maybe something that was challenging or stressful, something you could use a little bit of support with, and then, just something that's been kind of tough. And we can kind of look for an opportunity to see if we can do anything about that thorn as we move through our setup next week or well, this week, I guess. So this week for next week. So I always like to do mine in reverse. So my thorn is that I've been having trouble sleeping lately. I don't know what it is about this time of year. I feel like towards the last few weeks of October every year, I tend to have trouble sleeping. And I don't know if it's because it starts to get darker a lot faster or if something like that is going on, but it always seems to happen to me. So I think I finally like crossed the threshold with it the other night. I got some good sleep in there, so maybe I'm turning a corner, but that has definitely been my thorn in the last week. And then many of you know that my husband was laid off at the beginning of September. And so we've kind of been in that stage of uncertainty and trying to figure life out and everything. So he actually got a verbal job offer last week, which is very exciting. We're a little gun shy because it is just a verbal offer so far. So I'm kind of like, all right, I'll believe it when I see the papers, right? But if it all works out the way that it should, it's going to be a really great move for him career wise, both in the position and just in overall opportunity. He's going to be working in an industry that there's a lot of overall opportunity for growth in our area in. So definitely kind of like lemons to lemonade kind of thing. It seems like this may have worked out in our favor in the long run. And it has meant so much to both he and I to have all of you cheering us on along the way and sending us all the positive vibes because I definitely believe that your positive vibes helped. So thank you all. And then my rose is just like sweet kitty cuddles. At night when I have been having trouble sleeping, I've had a lot of just like waking up in the middle of the night. And our youngest cat, Groot, is very snuggly. He has been just sleeping right next to me. And as soon as I like rouse at all and kind of start to like wake up in the middle of the night, he comes over and he gets on me and he snuggles me. It's like I have my own little personal interactive teddy bear. So he's been making that thorn a little bit easier for me. So I want to know what all of your rosebuds and thorns are. Please share in the chat. We want to be here to celebrate those roses with you, to hold space for those buds, and to give you support for those thorns. So if you feel comfortable, please share in the chat, and then we'll get into our weekly setup. Thank you all. If you're still working on this, please feel free to keep sharing in the chat. And again, just a reminder, like a rose can literally be that you're here this morning. Because that is you carving out time for yourself, and that is a win. I know it doesn't always necessarily feel like it, especially if those like thorns are coming up super easily, right? And a thorn and a rose feels like more of a struggle. But there are so many people that really struggle to make time for themselves. It is such a hard thing in our society. We've kind of been taught in a lot of ways to put everything else before ourselves. So the fact that you all are even just here right now, making time for you, even if you're not checking off every box, or if you're needing to just hang out in the chat and do your setup later, or just focus on your setup and not chat, whatever this morning looks like for you, the fact that you are here right now can absolutely be a rose, and it also can be a bud because you're kind of exploring the opportunity of the week ahead. So, with that said, we are going to transition into our main event today, which is our weekly planner. So, this is my full weekly spread, but we'll be taking a look at each one of these sections as we go through. I kind of did a combo of stickers this week with my Silcom Sonder stickers, and then I actually got one of the little Happy Meal Halloween buckets last week, and it came with some really fun like Halloween stickers. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna put these in my journal. So those little like cute ghosties and pumpkins and stuff came from my Happy Meal bucket. But they're so cute. I love them. So we're going to start on page 52 in the top right with how we want to feel. Now, those of you that have been coming to socials with me on the weeklies know that my word for this year was embrace. And so I have kind of been changing this section from this week I want to feel to this week I want to embrace to kind of just keep that front and center. So this week I want to embrace traditions. Halloween is on Thursday, and I was like sharing in the chat earlier that my dad, who passed away several years ago now, he always made Halloween really fun and special for me. And so it's kind of one of those times of the year that I get to really kind of embrace like his memories, and especially like the positive memories that I have with him, and kind of bring in some of those like traditions, like handing out candy and really making it fun for the kids, like he did when I was growing up. And I always like put on Nightmare Before Christmas and make a batch of pumpkin chili. And so I'm gonna look forward to kind of leaning into those traditions this week. But if you are going with an actual feeling, there's a word cloud there up on the screen for you for inspiration. And then I also have all of these amazing examples from so many of you in Sonder Club. And you can see from here, like there is no rules, right? This is your journal, so you can do whatever feels right to you. So if you want to write a full quote here, if you want to do a word and a definition, if you want to put stickers, just a single feeling, again, whatever feels right to you when you think about what feeling you want to kind of conjure up as you go through the week this week. So I'll put on a quick song for you all and then let us know in the chat how you want to feel this week. Okay. If you're still working on your feeling, that's okay. Last week when I did my setup, it ended up being the last box I filled in. Sometimes I have to get everything else figured out first before I can think about how I want to feel about it. So we're now going to move down to the center of our page, looking at our weekly to-dos and major 3 goals. Now, I started putting these together when I do my weekly setups with you all, because so many of you are kind of like combining these 2 sections together. And I've even started combining them a little bit myself. So I still use the calendar at the top there to kind of like circle the days that I have like appointments and commitments and things like that. And then I write out what those are at the top. And then at the bottom of that little weekly to-dos, I kind of have this running to-do list of things that I don't actually plan to get to anytime soon, but if I don't write them down each week, I'll forget that they're even things I need to do. And so when I do randomly find myself with some free time, instead of getting one of those things crossed off my list, I'll do something else because I've forgotten that it's something I want to do. So I kind of have that running to-do list. But then for my major weekly three, I actually use the Silk and Sonder Life Coach app. It gives me 3 weekly affirmations. And so I kind of write those there. And then on the to-dos, I tie in 3 intentions to that. So like, for example, I've got my second affirmation there is I honor my feelings with grace, nurturing resilience and emotional strength. And my intention that goes hand in hand with that for me is to make some time for rest this week. And then that is what I'm doing for mine. But you can see here, there are some more examples of how other folks have kind of like blended these sections together. I really like the one that is kind of on the middle left-hand side there, where they've got kind of 3 focus areas for their goals. But then they have made a little like bingo board that goes with those 3 intentions over on the to-do side. So like for the mind section, they've got read daily, schedule doctor's appointment, breathe and meditate. For body, they've got stretch, drink water, focus on fruits and vegetables, etc. So it kind of helps if you are like me and sometimes feel like you have just like a million things running through your head. Like it kind of helps to clarify with those 3 things and then just focus on those 3 things when you're thinking about your to-dos. But you do not have to blend these 2 sections together. Another way that you can kind of pare down that to-do list if you need to is to use this Eisenhower matrix in the top left and really go through those list of things and figure out what's truly urgent and needs to be done this week, what is not that urgent and maybe could wait, what is like important and not important to help you kind of siphon through what you really want to focus on this week. If you're like me and you continue to struggle to get things done, sometimes the Pomodoro technique can really help with that. I have to use the Pomodoro technique every single week to do the dishes and the laundry. You set a timer for 25 minutes and you agree to kind of work on the task for that amount of time. And then when the timer goes off, you kind of reflect on your progress and decide if you want to keep going or if you're just kind of done for the day. And thankfully, with something like dishes, it really only takes me 8 minutes. And I know that because I've been timing myself. It takes 8 minutes to do the dishwasher. It's not as big of a deal as I think it's going to be. But sometimes just getting up and getting started is the hardest part. Laundry, sometimes I will let the clean laundry pile up for a few weeks. So sometimes it can take me more than one 25-minute session to get that done. So setting that timer can be a good way to just kind of get going. If you are not wanting to focus on productivity this week, you can try a to-be list, a need, want, hope list. Or if you want to focus on productivity, but you don't want to feel kind of the pressure of that to-do list, you could do a to-do list instead, where you write out things as you get them done instead of writing out all the things you need to do. Sometimes that mind shift can be really beneficial. We love a bingo here at Silk and Sonder, so if you want to gamify that to-do list and turn it into a bingo, feel free. And if you are not looking to use this section at all, you can always just put a quote here, put whatever routine you're focusing on currently, some stickers, whatever feels right to you. When you're looking at that major 3 goals section, again, you can think about focusing in on 3 different areas. Sometimes that helps us to feel different, more organized, or you can just focus on 3 intentions overall. I think I'm always going to point out this example in like the center bottom where they have written out their intention and also why. Because research has shown us that if you write out your whys, a lot of the times it helps us stick to those goals a little bit more easily. And as always, there is a whole bunch of ideas of ways that you can like completely repurpose this section. We do have Halloween this week, as we've already talked about. And so if you're somebody that really loves to lean into the season, maybe there's like 3 Halloween movies you want to watch this week. Or maybe you want to focus on establishing new traditions if you don't have any currently that feel right for you, because sometimes we have to do that, right? We have to kind of make up our own traditions of what we want things to look like in the future. So I'm going to cycle through all of these slides for you. So if your favorite one disappeared, don't worry, it's going to come back and I'll put on some music so that you can think about these sections. Let us know how you're setting them up, and then we'll move over to our next part. Okay, we are now moving down to the bottom of page 52 here with our habit and activity tracker. This is another one that I repurpose. I really like to focus on my monthly habits. And so I have like tried doing habits and activities here in this section. And this can really be a great place to do that if you're wanting to try out a new habit, if you've got a habit that's going really well and maybe you want to stretch things a little bit further, like if you have a goal to walk 5,000 steps a day and that's going super well. Maybe you want to try to walk 7,000 steps a day 3 times this week, right? Before you're like actually committing to bumping up that goal, you're kind of going to try it out for a little bit. Likewise, if there's a habit you're kind of struggling with, like maybe you're like, I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water because that's something I said I would do, and I have been on the struggle bus with it this month. Maybe for this week, you just want to focus on 60 ounces of water, right? Something that's a little bit more manageable to kind of build up that momentum. But for me, having focus in too many different areas can kind of lead to overall unfocus in general. So I like to just focus on my monthly habits. And so I have been changing this section to the breath work that I receive from the life coach each week. Kind of puts that front and center for me to have it in this section. I can literally flip to it at work and take just a few minutes and kind of be there and have that moment to myself, and nobody knows what I'm doing. It all works out really well. So that's what I've been doing for that section. But again, this can be a great place to establish goals. I know some of you are the exact opposite and you prefer to do this each week and not focus on that monthly habit wheel. Some people change that monthly habit wheel to something completely different to like track one specific thing. And this is really where they do their habits each week because they want that kind of like flexibility week to week. So if that's you, then that's great. We want you to do whatever works for you and use these pages in whatever way makes sense for your life. You can fill in every line here if you want to, if you are using this as a space to focus on those activities, or you could just fill in one line. Like maybe you have one thing that you just really want to bring center focus this week. And so that's what you're going to write there. Also, it says habits and activities. So again, we've got Halloween this week. If there are some different activities or fun things that you want to lean into that you don't want to forget about this week, this could be a good place to put those. This could also be a place to track things you don't want to do. Like maybe you're trying to cut back on alcohol, or maybe you're trying to stop biting your nails. This could be a good place to kind of track some of those things or to build out a new routine. Like I used this earlier this year to build out a new sleep routine. And honestly, it might be time for me to revisit that since I'm having some trouble sleeping lately. You could also use this as kind of like a little check-in place if you want to write out different ways that you can check in with yourself each day. Somebody had used it to kind of track symptoms. They had just been ill and they were kind of having some lingering symptoms, and the doctor had asked them kind of pay attention to it. So they had used this as a place to kind of track those through their recovery. So that could also be a good place for this. And as always, if you don't feel that you have something in your life that fits this section, you do not have to use it. You can skip it altogether. You can throw in a quote here. You can put some fun stickers there that are going to make you smile, whatever is going to help you have a better week. So I'll put on a quick song for you all, and then we'll move over to our next page. All right, we are now going to flip over to page 53, starting with the section that is titled Meal Plan. Now, this section gets repurposed a lot, not because having a meal plan or meal tracking is a bad thing. It can be a super helpful thing, especially depending on what your goals are. But it just takes up a lot of real estate in the journal, and the format is, there's like a little space there for every day of the week. So the possibilities are kind of endless. And so I know a lot of our Sonder fam uses something different for like their meal related goals. And so this area gets repurposed. For myself, I put all of my work meetings over here on the Monday through Friday section. It helps me to kind of stay organized and understand what my week looks like from a meetings perspective as I move through it. And then I do not work on Saturdays and Sundays. So on those days, I don't have any work meetings. And so I will write out the journal prompts that I got from the life coach there so that I remember to engage with those throughout the week. But here are a whole list of ways that you can use this section. You could use it as like scheduling, kind of like I did for work, but you could use it for personal life. If you've got kiddos that you've got to wrangle or anything like that, this can be a good place to kind of think about their schedules and what they have going on if you have to vary them from place to place, or think about snacks and things like that. If you are trying to do a daily chore list or daily tidy list, if you are looking to do anything on a daily basis, like your affirmations, or if you want to kind of do a general check in with yourself each day and kind of maybe do a little bit of journaling, this can be a good space for that. I love this little ghosty sticker. He is so cute. I love all of this little alliteration, kind of mindfulness Monday, tech free Tuesday, etc. I also love this mental release to-do list. Sometimes when we are feeling stressed, it can be good to think about what's one thing that if I could get it done will make me feel better right now. And so if you already have those things kind of like pre-written out of something you can do really quickly and accessible. It can be a great way to boost your mood. So I will put on some music for you all to think about how you want to set up this section for yourself. And then we've got another few sections to go over before we close out our time together. All right. So we have two more sections here. It's our mind body health plan and the shopping list section. So I've started combining these in the setups as well because I'm starting to see in Sonder Club more and more people kind of using these spaces interchangeably. They'll do like self-care bingos in either one of these, or kind of combine these sections together as needed. I usually do like a self-care bingo in the mind body health plan, but in the last few weeks, I have not really been utilizing it the same way I was before. So that usually tells me that it's time for some sort of a change up. Something's not really working for me anymore. And I think it's because I repurposed my mood tracker to be like a replenishment list. And so I'm already kind of focusing on self care each day through that. And so I kind of don't have this need for the self care bingo on my weekly each week anymore. So instead, I decided to write the mantra I got from the life coach this week, for myself there for now while I kind of think about how I want to use that space in the future. And then the shopping list is always an actual shopping list for me. It really helps me to not impulse buy and to also not forget to get things that I actually need. So here's some different examples of how other people have set up this space. If you are going to actually make a plan for your mind, body, and health, please make sure that you are carving out time for rest. Remember that rest is an action and it's very important for each of us to make sure we are getting that time. And if you're not sure what type of rest you need, there are 7 types of rest, if you didn't know. It's not a cover-all or a bingo. It's not necessarily something you need to be trying to achieve each and every day or each and every week. But sometimes it is good to think about the 7 types of rest and ask ourselves if we are kind of more exhausted in one area than another. And if so, is there a way that we can kind of fill our cup back up in that way? Lots of folks like to do bingos here, or like weekly reminders, self-care. I love the shopping list here where it is a shopping list, but it's super cute and creative. It's not just a list like mine is. I think that makes it a lot more fun. You can do a T chart of what you feel and need. And here are a bunch of other examples of how to use this space or repurpose it. I love this little washi tape scraps. If you're somebody that uses washi tape or stickers, this can be a fun place to kind of put your scraps. Or if you've got extra stickers, if you're like, oh, I never use my stickers, but I have these and I don't really know what I want to do with them. Sometimes you just got to find a little spot to do a little creative art project with your stickers. And each day when you flip to that page, it'll make you smile. And if it makes you smile, it is doing its job. So I'll put on some music for you to think about how you want to set up this section, and then we'll close out our time together. Well, if you can believe it, that's going to close out our time together. I know it always goes by so fast. The last little part of our journal we have here is the I'm loving section, and I know lots of you like to fill that out at the end of the week. So if that's the case, you do not have to change that here today for us. But if you feel comfortable sharing something you're loving in the chat, we would love to see it as we close out our time together. I am loving our pumpkin. We went to a friend's house last night and they did like a pumpkin carving party. And so we carved a pumpkin for the first time in several years, and he's super cute. So I'm looking forward to lighting him up this evening and getting to really enjoy him. If you feel comfortable sharing your pages in Sonder Club, we would love to see them and use them as examples in the future potentially. So please do snap photos and share if you feel comfortable. We are still doing our Refer a Friend program. So if you refer somebody to Silk and Sonder, they get $10 off, you get $10 off, and then you could come to socials together. If you're not already an annual subscriber, something to consider as it can save you some money in the long run, especially as we start to move into those holiday seasons and making those wish lists. And Maya is popping all of these links into the chat where you can scan these QR codes on the screen to get started. Please fill out the survey. Let us know what you thought of this social. And Maya is also going to include the YouTube link in the chat where the recording of this social will be up in a few business days, along with most of our other socials. If you ever can't make it to one, if you have to leave early, anything like that, it'll be back up there on the YouTube page for you within a couple of days, so you can always come back to it later. And then I will share a link to my playlist here in the chat for anybody who needs or wants it. But that is going to close out our time together today. It is always the fastest hour of the week, of the day, of the month, anytime we get to spend time together. But it's also one of the greatest hours of the week. So thank you all so much for being here with us. We hope you feel ready for the week ahead. And until next time, be good to each other, and we'll see you in Sonder Club.
My skin is glowing, my energy is flowing, confidence